Hi everyone, Omer here, back again with another video, and today I'm just going to go over my portfolio, looking at what I've added into my portfolio and how I'm going to be moving forward with it. I've pretty much set out all of my stocks now, my individual stocks that I'll be investing in. My goal was that within the first month, I'm going to have a play around, see which stocks I'm, quite bullish on, and have them as my permanent holdings, obviously with a couple of exceptions here and there that can change. Same thing with my ETFs. I've made a couple of changes, but had quite good progress despite the current downturn that happened after Jerome Powell's Fed announcement on Wednesday this week. So obviously in my last video I was about £2,250. Today I've invested in total about 3,700. Sitting at the moment in my portfolio is about 366, and that's just due to that downturn earlier. So today I'm going to be going through exactly my stocks, the individual stocks, some changes I've made to my ETFs, and then I'll be making separate videos in regards to specific stocks here, such as Tsla, which I now own one full share of, and I may do one on Square as well. Right, so I'm just going to go straight ahead into it. So obviously I put in some money on Wednesday, I believe just after the market closed. So obviously going into Thursday, I was sitting pretty with a good sort of roughly around 3% return. And then obviously his news hit and the market crashed. I think the Dow was down 1,800 points. Nasdaq was down about 5-6% as well. But I fared it, got out of it. Not too badly hurt this week. Only down 1.79 in total. So as you can see from my last video, I've now got one share of AMD. I've also included Amzn and Alibaba within my portfolio. AMD obviously it's a long-term prospect for me. That's why it's a holding stock for me. Obviously AMD are manufacturers of semiconductors, etc. That's a big industry I see moving forward. Amazon as well. The longer I've sort of held off in investing in Amazon, the more I'm seeing that, this stock over time is just going to keep on growing. Amazon's retail business is doing great. It's fared so well throughout this whole COVID pandemic. I'm looking at the max chart here. I think the best time to invest would have been December 2018, to be honest. But, here's where we started seeing the downturn due to COVID. But look how much it's weathered so well since then, where we've hit all-time highs earlier in the week, and I only feel Amazon's going to get stronger and stronger as time goes on. To be honest, I was speaking to a friend and we just had this discussion that, look, Amazon is so strong as a retailer, but then you have to look at everything else they're into. And I've just decided right now I'm actually going to do a whole video on Amazon, exploring why I'm so bullish on this stock moving forward. Obviously just due to the price, I'm going to be fractionally investing in it. So every month, hopefully I can put in at least £100 into Amazon directly. Alibaba as well, everyone's aware of Alibaba. I think we're at a good price right now. It is at an all-time high or around that figure, but moving forward the next 2-3 years, I'm holding it as a long-term stock because I see a lot of potential in Alibaba as well. EQQQ over here, that's a new ETF that I've invested in. And I actually just transferred some funds over from my IUSA. Some of you may remember I had about £250 invested in the IUSA here. So I just withdrew 8 units of that and ended up buying one EQQQ from Invesco. And that's due to their top 10 holdings. And just off the top of my head, the top 10 holdings for EQQQ are Microsoft and Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet, Class A and Class C. You've got Intel, Nvidia, Cisco, and Adobe in there as well. They're all, apart from Adobe, they're all companies that I'm actually investing in individually. So EQQ is, they're the reason I'm not down 5-6% at the moment. It's these stocks are the reason that I'm only down 1.8. They've fared quite well. So I'm definitely going to be investing more in that ETF. It could be my second highest ETF after the IUKD dividends one. Facebook as well took a bit of a tumble last week. Let's look at the 1 week chart. Yeah, so they took a bit of a tumble last week. We hit an all-time high of about 240. I saw a lot of put options actually for Facebook at 230. There's like a $4.5 million put option against Facebook for ending this week. So whoever put that down made pretty penny off that. But yeah, sitting at 228. Expecting good things from Facebook moving forward still. It's a long-term stock for me. I've seen analyst predictions of this going to about 350 in the next 2 years. I definitely think that's possible with Facebook. RUKD, again, the reason I'm actually down 66 is a big part of that, big chunk of that is RUKD. Now, RUKD, I'm really not concerned when it comes to the stock price of this, because this is my dividend fund. This is my passive income fund. This is that same fund that I'm going to be buying 50 units every month. At the end of this month, I'll have increased that from 97 to 150, and it's because their dividend yield for the first quarter was about 8%, which is huge, and we're looking at 7.95 actually for Q2. So I'm going to be paid that on the 27th of June. That's the payment date. So looking forward to that. Should be about 100 shares. Looking at about probably £8, but again, that's just going to be reinvested directly back into it. Next, I mentioned the IUSA, so I'm slowly transferring my funds out of the IUSA into the EQQ. As soon as I've hit a profit on that spare cash, I'm just going to keep it to the side until I can buy another EQQ unit. Mid, that's a diversification into the UK. That's the FTSE 250 from BlackRock. Did quite poorly. We had some figures that came through this week, and I believe the forecast was minus 15%, and the UK economy was at about minus 20. So that was bad news for the FTSE 100 especially, but I've sort of diversified that further into the mid-cap stocks. So that's the FTSE 250, but that's definitely a long-term stock for me, as is Microsoft. Nvidia, I mean, what can you say about Nvidia? They're doing so much these days. I will not be selling Nvidia. I know I've bought at an all-time high. I only see this stock rising in value moving forward, and that's simply due to the fact that right now 51% of their revenue is coming from gaming, but they're into autonomous vehicles, huge market there, AI, huge market there, data, huge market there, and those three only constitute about the other 50%. So as they grow that, obviously revenue is going to increase. Really looking forward to Nvidia. That could be a $700 stock in about 2-3 years time, very, very easily. PayPal, I've actually bought PayPal as a result of buying Square. Now, Square, like I said, deserves their own video, so that will come soon. But PayPal, the biggest reason I've purchased PayPal is obviously online payments. Look at them skyrocketing here to all-time highs. I wish I'd bought at the dip, or even here around 120. I would have been really happy with that. But Venmo is part of PayPal, just as in Square you've got the Cash App, but Venmo is doing very, very well. We just passed, I believe it was 52 million annual users in the US alone. So PayPal's got a bright future ahead of them. And it's sort of like if you're buying, if you're buying, let's think of an example here. If you're buying Microsoft, you might want to buy their competitor. You might want to buy Apple, you might want to buy Alphabet as well. but it's complementary in that sense. But the reason I actually bought PayPal was not because of PayPal's model or what PayPal does as a unit, but it's rather I'm buying PayPal because Venmo doesn't have its own listing. It's a PayPal subsidiary, and that's why I've bought PayPal. To be honest, it was only down 0.72 over the last week. All of these stocks have fared quite well, to be fair. Square, again, it was minus 1.64. Square was hit a bit harder than everything else, and that's due to the fact that their primary business has been, with retailers, and that is completely expected. But again, I've seen figures, with Square going 10x in the next 3 years. I do not doubt that for a second. Very, very bullish long term on Square, and real big fan of Jack Dorsey as a CEO. I think he's got a great vision. Cash App is going to be fantastic. I've actually opened a Cash App myself. Obviously, it's limited functionality in the UK, but in the US, they've seen tremendous growth over the last 3 years, in particular the last 18 months. I think it's a great opportunity for Square moving forward. Tesla, I actually sold off my speculative stocks from last week, and yeah, I made a loss on it, but it's fine. You take the L, it's completely fine. I was okay to do that, and just ended up reinvesting that to get one Tesla share in total. Huge fan of Tesla. Cannot wait to see where this stock is at. We've got, I'll obviously dive deeper into it, but just probably at the end of this month, we're going to have Tesla Battery Day. Huge talk about Tesla, potentially revealing a million mile battery. It's going to hugely affect the share price of that. Then we start talking about reusability, resale values of their electric cars, etc. And really that opens up an entire new sort of branch of revenue for Tesla when it comes to talking about their energy solutions, and how people can be using their cars to plug into the grid even. So yeah, my average price was $905, as you can see here, and I bought it at around this point. So this was shortly before SpaceX had their launch recently, and I anticipate that would go up due to that. Obviously it did. Had a little bit of a dip here, but then shot up right again, and this is just due to Tesla announcing the semi-truck is going to go into production. Obviously the downturn here comes off the back of the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell's announcement, but huge prospects for Tesla. Really expecting, possibly by the end of August, September time, looking into Q4, really expecting this to be at $1,500. Quite bullish on Tesla. VWRL, it's quite a new ETF, to be honest. For me, I ended up buying it here near the all-time high, so I'm a bit of a dip here, to be honest. I'm minus £37, minus 3%, but it makes sense simply because of what's going on in the market. But again, this fund in total has about 3,000 company stocks. So I mean, after the first 10 to 20, the effect of those doesn't really matter too much on the price of a share. But I've got a huge stake in this one, and solely that's just due to diversification. So between the VWRL, the EQQQ, and the IUKD, they're going to be my top 3 holdings moving forward for sure. And that's obviously the IUKD comes down to, that's the BlackRock UK dividend ETF, and that's passive income. EQQQ for growth, I 100% believe that this will be 200 at least by the end of the year. Very doable considering the companies it has. And then the VWRL, despite that certain dip, I again, probably by the end of the month should be seeing that going into green. And that's just a quick overview of my portfolio. Again, we're up from 1,050 2 weeks ago to now sitting quite comfortably at 3664, and by the end of the month the portfolio should be over 4,000 in total, considering my further investments moving forward. Right, and that's it for today. Again, please watch out for the Tesla video coming up and the Square video as well. May do one on Nvidia by itself. And just one more thing, actually. There was a couple of stocks that I'm thinking of adding in. These could get their own video, to be honest, because Apple hit their all-time high this week. But then obviously there was a bit of a retracement. But Apple for the long term, 100%, I think that could be a potential. I might add that to my fractional share list. Spotify, 100%, I'm going to be adding. The more I've read about Spotify this morning, the more confident I am. And SPLK. So SPLK is actually a company called Splunk. And in keeping with, my entire theme of, we've got AMD, semiconductor, we've got tech companies everywhere. This is pretty much a tech-focused portfolio, with the diversification coming in through pretty much the mid-cap fund and the VWRL from Vanguard. Apart from that, is a very, very tech-focused fund. But the SPLK stock, seeing I'm really, really tempted to buy into it. And Splunk is basically a sort of a data service, like a cloud service, but it's an insight. So if a company has data, Splunk will, via a website, provide you real-time information on the data you hold, so they can identify patterns for you, provide metrics, diagnosing problems. It's basically intelligence and providing intelligence, and I'm very much interested in Splunk just because of their potential AI integration within that and how useful that can be for businesses. So these three are on my watch list. They could be included in my portfolio by the end of the month as fractional shares, and then I would have had my full portfolio complete moving forward into the next year. The only one I'm sort of speculating on here, to be honest, the only one at all is Alibaba. I feel, they're great, but they are a bit overvalued at the moment. That's the only thing I feel. But again, very, very small feeling about that, and that's just due to the volume of the shares that they have and how a second outbreak might affect that. But again, that's short-term thinking. Long-term wise, even if this drops, I do feel it's still going to be in my portfolio. But again, guys, thanks for watching. That was just a brief overview. Check out my other videos and how my portfolio has been progressing. I hope you liked it. If you did, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Love to hear your thoughts on my portfolio. Would love to know about your portfolio as well. And I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.